You are watching AJ Dybantsa, a freshman star who scouts say is the second coming of Tracy McGrady. AJ is leading all of college basketball with nearly 25 points per game on over 53% shooting, and he is 9th in the nation in PER. He's the type of future superstar the NBA usually is hyping as its next #1 pick, but AJ might slip all the way to pick number 3 because the 2026 NBA draft is looking scarier by the minute. Teams are now desperately tanking because any one of the top 5 could be a franchise star for the next decade. The actual projected #1 pick, Darryn Peterson, scores so smoothly that he's been given the dangerous comparison of Kobe Bryant himself. Caleb Wilson is averaging around 20 and 10 at North Carolina, is being called a young Kevin Garnett, and he is projected 4th. Kingston Flemings just dropped 42 points, and people are saying there are shades of Derrick Rose in his game. He might go 5th or later, and we haven't even mentioned Cameron Boozer. Boozer is the favorite to win National Player of the Year as a freshman and is having one of the best college basketball seasons we have ever seen, which means we have a big question here. With these types of insane comparisons and expectations for 5 different picks, have scouts lost their minds, or are we about to see the NBA change completely from one historic draft? AJ Dybantsa is having the best season by a freshman wing since Kevin Durant in 2007. Looking at the base stats of current NBA All-Stars or better who became top 3 picks, it's KD at 1 and AJ at 2. What's even crazier is when we factor in efficiency, AJ actually has a higher true shooting percentage than Kevin Durant and has been more efficient than the huge names we're looking at. Throw in the fact that he's 6'9" with Tracy McGrady comparisons, that he has a 7-foot wingspan, can attack the basket from anywhere, playmake, initiate the offense, rebound at a respectable rate, and we are left asking, how is this not the easy #1 overall pick? Because AJ is producing like the most complete freshman wing we have seen in over a decade. Scouts say his 2 biggest weaknesses right now are ball handling and 3-point volume. He is averaging 2.9 turnovers per game, and his dribble can get sloppy at times. But for his size and position, his handle is still more than respectable. And while he is only making 1.3 3-pointers a night, something that will not fly in the modern NBA, he's also shooting 35.9% from 3, so the ability to improve his shot is there. But are these concerns about AJ big enough to overlook everything else? Here's what we need to understand about AJ. He's essentially a basketball prodigy whose game has been nitpicked to death. In 8th grade, he played high school basketball and averaged almost 20 points per game. Then headed into his sophomore year, he generated once in a generation buzz after leading the Nike Peach Jam in scoring over seniors and future top draft picks like Dylan Harper. That made AJ a household name, but when talking about dominating players 2 years older than him, AJ said,
I play with the seniors, so I'm 15 playing against like Dylan Harper. Like those guys averaged 26, but that wasn't really like a good example of letting everybody eat.
AJ is a winner, and this kind of mindset is special. So is the fact that only 9 freshmen in the last 20 years have averaged at least 23 points per game in a season, and AJ is about to become the 10th. But when a player has been on NBA radars this long, people stop looking at the positives and focus only on his negatives. That's what's happening to AJ, except so many NBA players have been praising him. Kevin Durant has said, I love him. I was impressed by his size, fluidity, and ball handling. Devin Booker said, you can already tell the maturity level. The competitive nature comes through in the conversation. And Draymond Green compared him to Anthony Edwards.
He gets downhill like Ant-Man. Like, the way he attacks the basket is like Ant-Man.
A 6'9" Anthony Edwards with an insane work ethic. In middle school, AJ was doing 3 workouts before 2 p.m. and then finishing the day playing summer league games. BYU had to ban him from the gym over the summer because he was working too much. His dad is a former police officer who made him and his sisters do 100 push-ups a day, going as far as to install cameras in their house to hold them accountable. AJ once got a C- in 6th grade, so his dad drove him 6 hours to an AAU game, let him warm up, and then had the coach coach benched him to teach him a lesson. In other words, AJ has been taught you need to work hard to be great, and that discipline keeps showing itself. AJ began this year averaging 20.9 points over his first 10 games. In his last 15 against better competition, he is averaging 26.7. He has the physical tools, he's only getting better, and if this is what he looks like right now, then what are scouts seeing that makes Darryn Peterson the projected #1 overall pick? Darryn Peterson is becoming one of the biggest mystery prospects we have ever seen. Just weeks ago, he had the label of a generational scorer. Guys like Doug Gottlieb have said Peterson is the closest thing to Kobe Bryant they have ever seen. Sports Illustrated said his playstyle compares to Kobe, while his potential development will resemble Anthony Edwards. But with that said, we are starting to see tweets like this pop up. Billy, this is Darryn Peterson. He's a 6'5", 200-pound pure scorer and is a matchup nightmare. Only problem is, he hates playing basketball.
If I were a general manager, I would be extremely concerned about Darryn Peterson. Darryn Peterson has played 12 of 24 games this year in college basketball, and it's been everything from an injury, checking himself out of second halves of games. Nobody knows, nobody wants to talk about it. It don't feel like he really wants to be there. And maybe this is a byproduct, KP, of when kids get paid NIL and they get money up front, right? If that's the way it goes, it's like, well, if I don't want to be here, I get my money up front. Then I can check out when I want to check out. That's what this feels like.
Yes, there is now a shadow of a doubt cast over Darryn Peterson, as he is simply not playing in enough college basketball games. At first, we were told that this was due to nagging injuries, and maybe this was even a positive. If he's really been playing hurt, then averaging 19.8 points per game in the 14 games he's played this year would be incredibly impressive, especially because Darryn Peterson has showcased an NBA-ready jumper. He's been knocking down 2.7 threes a game on over 41% shooting from deep, and let's be honest, this shot just looks so smooth. And when he's on his game, Peterson can score seemingly at will. He has elite athleticism that lets him blow by defenders and finish over anyone at the rim, and he also has the control to score from anywhere on the court. In high school, when he played AJ Dybantsa directly, Peterson came in ranked lower than AJ and scored 61 points to show everyone it is Darryn Peterson who should be the #1 pick. His upside is unreal, and in college, Jay Bill thinks it's been more of the same.
I mean, the last guy I could say that I feel like scored it as easily as Peterson was Kevin Durant. When Durant came out, you knew, okay, he's going to lead the league in scoring at some point, and you feel kind of like that about Peterson.
But here's the issue. People are beginning to wonder if Darryn isn't actually hurt, but instead has taken his NIL money and doesn't really want to compete for Kansas. The reason for this is that before playing #1 Arizona, Peterson surprisingly decided to sit out, and a text message from a person with perceived inside knowledge went viral. The text read, "So he's sick and didn't tell anyone in practice, and Kansas coach Bill Self said, don't half-ass it if you're gonna play. If not, sit. DP said, F it, I'm out." Fans are worried about this. They think we might be looking at another Ben Simmons type of situation, a prospect with a ton of talent who doesn't care enough about basketball and doesn't care enough about winning. Let's remember, what separates the true greats is a continued work ethic for 10+ years. If we need any reminders about that, let's look at a guy like Zion. At LSU, Ben Simmons was a first-team All-American, but he never went to class. His team failed to make the NCAA tournament, and those should have been red flags that we paid attention to. So that is why people are starting to turn on Darryn Peterson, and we also have to note, currently Peterson is averaging more turnovers than assists per game. He's averaged just 1.6 assists, which is 2 less than AJ. And after a recent poor 10-point showing versus Iowa State, Reddit went crazy, stating, "I think it's pretty clear that this guy's not giving 100%. Teams are tanking for this? How can anyone possibly have this guy at #1? Only, is this an overreaction? Maybe Darryn Peterson really has just been injured. Kyrie Irving only played in 11 games for Duke before he went #1, and against AJ and BYU, both Peterson and AJ scored 17 points, but Darryn had to sit out the second half. So in just one half, Peterson showed insane upside. He knocked down 3 threes, but what's even more impressive was this. Let's watch here as on an incredible drive to the basket. Against multiple defenders, Peterson switches hands at the rim for a finish. Then a few minutes later, he gives us a look at his fadeaway mid-range game. Again, just smooth and in control. And to cap it it all off. We have this drive to the basket where he throws it down over a poor BYU big man. When we watch Peterson's game, it speaks for itself. And all reports on the side say that he does have an elite work ethic, so maybe this mystery is just overblown and will solve itself by March. Darryn still has plenty of time to prove that he is the number one guy, and the worst he's going to fall to is number 3. Which raises a question for us though. How is it possible that Caleb Wilson, a freshman who is compared to Kevin Garnett, is not going to be a top 3 pick? Because Caleb Wilson was supposed to be a raw athlete who still had to figure out how to get the most out of his ability. But then when we compare Caleb's stats to college stars such as Zion, Anthony Davis, Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren, and Cooper Flagg, we see that Caleb belongs right on this list, which already tells us so much about his production. But in terms of his mentality, before the second game of this season, Caleb and North Carolina were set to play Kansas, and Caleb was quoted as saying, "Bro, this stuff matters to me. I was mad all week. First of all, they say they got someone on the other team who's better than me. And then also, it's Kansas, and we haven't beat them in 23 years. This is personal." The other player was Darryn Peterson. And not only did North Carolina take a 13-point win, breaking that 23-year streak, but Caleb outplayed Darryn, finishing with 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals on 9 of 11 shooting from the field. This gave him immediate national exposure, and he proved when the lights are bright, he is ready to step up. Right now, the one thing missing from Caleb's game is a consistent 3-point shot. Caleb is making only 0.3 threes a game and shoots 25.9% from deep. In the modern NBA, that won't cut it. But jump shots can be improved, and taking a look at his game versus Florida State, we see just how dominant Caleb already is. He is very comfortable with the ball in his hands and has great floor vision, showing us that almost immediately with this pass for an open 3. Then here on an out of bounds play, we see where that Kevin Garnett comp begins, because yeah, he has the defense, but he also has this insane fadeaway. And okay, now we're in transition. Caleb's leading the charge, and after a missed layup, we have the putback dunk. Caleb dunked a lot in this game. He is an athletic menace, and so to cap things off, here is a play that will almost certainly be featured on any of his college highlight tapes.
Gets free. Wilson with the slam with a tomahawk.
This game was also nothing new. Caleb Wilson is second in the entire nation in dunks with 67 in 24 games, almost 3 dunks a night. In every game he plays, his athleticism shines, but he is not the raw type of athlete we were told he was. In fact, Caleb has a remarkably consistent game. He is averaging 19.4 points per game this year, but the most points he scored in a single game this season is just 26. However, he's also scored 20 or more points in 17 of North Carolina's 24 games. You can pretty much write in a 20 and 10 stat line for him every night. And this combo may mean that the number 4 pick might be too low for Caleb, even with all of the talent ahead of him. He's an athletic freak who is also 5th in the entire NCAA in PER and 3rd in box score plus minus. His ceiling is truly tremendous. And so will scouts regret not ranking a Kevin Garnett type clone higher? We're going to see. But now we have an even bigger question. Caleb Wilson has been a top 10 recruit since 2022, but with Kingston Flemings, let's ask, how much credit should we give a player who starts at 0 and then skyrockets up the draft board? Because nobody had Kingston Flemings as even a top 10 pick. In fact, Kingston was the 3rd rated recruit in Houston's 2025 recruiting class and was not even guaranteed to be a starter this season. To begin the year, Tankathon did not have Kingston as a first round pick, but now both ESPN and Tankathon have him going number 5. Most drafts have a guy like this, someone who rises rapidly throughout the college basketball season, and sometimes these guys hit it big. In his first season at UCLA, Russell Westbrook averaged just 3.4 points per game and was not on people's draft boards. By the end of his sophomore year, he had become the number 4 overall pick. Kingston is having a similar rise, but he's doing it in year 1. He also is lightning quick and probably the fastest downhill guard in the draft, and Houston is the number 2 team in the nation as Kingston is leading them in points per game, assists per game, and steals per game. And while scouts scouts did not expect this, those close to Kingston did, because Kingston's mentality is he needs to win like he needs to breathe. When he was just 3 years old, Kingston was run over by a car in a near fatal accident, and ever since that day, his brother has said he has become the most competitive person alive. But what sets him apart on the court? His speed and his control. Fleming's ability to blow by any defender is amazing to watch. What has skyrocketed him up this year's draft board was a 42-point game against Texas Tech and an 8-steal game versus Florida State. But just looking at his best games would be too easy for us. So instead, let's focus on Houston versus Auburn, where we can really get a feel for Kingston's game. Right away, we see that he scores through a mixture of his insane speed and then touch as we watch a tough floater connect. Now, Kingston can throw it down. Against Oakland on this dunk, his head was near the rim, but that is not what his game is really about. Back to Auburn, we have a very nice dump off pass as Kingston is always found making the right play. He doesn't always need to go all the way to the basket. His mid-range game is already filthy, as after a blow by, we watch that mid-range jumper connect. And then in the clutch, Kingston wants the ball. Using his biggest weapon, he just simply dashes by a defender for an easy layup. And then ISO situation, ball in his hands again, another mid-range jumper that helps seal this game for Houston. Kingston isn't just fast, he is fast without losing his balance. And because of this, out of every freshman in the last 20 years, Kingston Flemings has a top 10 box score plus minus. These physical tools and ability to score from multiple places on the court have risen him to pick number 5. However, when we have a rise like this, we can often find a boom or bust prospect. So the only question is going to be, what is Kingston's ceiling in the NBA? But speaking of analytics, we need to talk about Cam Boozer, because Cam is having one of the best advanced stat seasons we have ever seen from a freshman basketball player. The only thing that is holding Cameron Boozer back from being the guaranteed number 1 pick is top tier explosiveness. But in a world where Luka and Jokic are NBA skilled megastars, why are we still holding this against guys like Cam? We already saw in this video that against the best of the best college basketball big men in recent memory, Cam's 22.8 points, 10 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.7 steals more than hold up. But he's also shooting 39.4% from 3 and making 1.5 threes a game. With that kind of passing and that kind of shooting, his transition to the modern NBA should be seamless. And then when we look at Cam's advanced stats versus the best college basketball bigs we've recently seen, we find that Cameron Boozer is an absolute standout, as he is this draft's analytic monster. And so in order to understand Cam's game, I want to highlight 2 separate games here. Against Stanford, we find the versatility Boozer is already playing with. Facing up out of a post-up, he hammers the ball to the rim, then it's an easy spin for him and a bucket. Cam is as elite as they come in the post. We could watch countless highlights of him eating defenders alive there, but in the modern NBA, he is going to need a face-up game as well. So let's watch as he hits here with a quick fake and then a very pretty finish at the basket, showing us some advanced footwork. Cam is also just a freight train. On this drive, he just puts his shoulder down, out-muscles the defender, forces his way to the rim, and scores with his amazing touch. He also is always attacking the offensive glass, as we see here with a put-back dunk. Then against Wake Forest, we could watch a lot of scoring highlights again. Like I mentioned before, Cameron Boozer eats out of post-up situations, and that's because he always makes the right play. Here we see it post-up, boom, Cam finds the open man for a score. And then we have another post-up, and Cam does it again, another easy basket. I really want to highlight here how great Cameron Boozer's court vision and decision-making are, because this is what sets him apart. A winning style and extreme skill set that helped Cam be named both Gatorade National Player of the Year and Mr. Basketball USA as a senior, and also as a high school sophomore. Yes, Cam is also a high school prodigy who in college, get this, leads the nation in PER, offensive, defensive, and total win shares, and box score plus minus. Because he is giving us one of the best seasons by a freshman we have ever seen, it should be no surprise that Cam is the easy favorite to win National Player of the Year this season. Cam's entire life, he has dominated, even though he is not the most athletic guy in the court, because he's an absolute unit with top tier basketball IQ. We have seen this translate to the NBA time and time again. And so, for the first time in years, there is no safe answer for who the number 1 pick should be. In this year's NBA draft, someone is going to make the right decision and their franchise will be rewarded for over a decade. But if a team makes the wrong decision, people are going to lose their jobs. The stakes are that high. And there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I really think you're going to like the video that is on the screen. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.